Hey everybody, we're here to do a glass-only replacement on this Acer Iconia A1-810 screen. After I removed this from the tablet, it took me a little while, but I determined that this is actually not adhered with glue. It's actually just put together with some double-sided tape. This LCD and the glass are basically adhered together with the same stuff that it was attached to the tablet with. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a razor blade. We're going to be very gentle, press down against the glass, and then cut our way around the display. So we can see we put it all the way through, being very careful not to cut the display or scratch it. We're using our tool to go around the display. We're digging the blade into the front glass is when we're replacing this. So basically what we're trying to do is separate it. Now you could do this another way. You could try to heat it up and then remove it with a spudger. I find that using a razor blade in this type of scenario will create less cleanup when it comes to having to put any cleaner on top of the LCD. You don't want to get any glue on top of it, any residue on top of the LCD. It can be really tricky to clean and then to keep streak free. So using this razor blade and just being gentle as you do it is the easiest and cleanest way to do it. It'll also be a lot quicker. I think it took me about 20 minutes to do the entire change, taking off the old glass and putting the new one on. So I'm just using my fingers to pull it back a little bit, get myself a little bit of positive pull on the glass from the LCD. Trying to only bend the glass and not bend the LCD itself. To separate it and then work our way down. Now the sides have a lot thinner tape than the two shorter sides. It has a thicker tape that holds it in place. So keep that in mind as you're cutting through it. This also would make the actual cost of replacing this much cheaper. Now you don't have to worry about damaging this ribbon cable right here because this belongs to the glass itself. It doesn't belong to the LCD. Perfect. So now we've cut three sides. We can kind of fold it a little bit and see if this last side will come off. If you need to, go ahead and take your razor blade and just cut down this side as well. Normally it'll start to pull free. Looks like we'll have to cut it off. There we go. Now we have it removed. The next step is just to go ahead and remove any of the little particles that might be around the edges. It's kind of like a foam, double-sided adhesive. So all we're going to do is go around and remove any bundled up spots or any high spots on it. We want to make sure it's as flat as possible. You can go through and try to remove all of this foam tape, and that would probably be the best way to do it. But it's really tricky to get off, and you don't necessarily have to. So we're just going to go ahead and just clean it up a little bit. Alright, so we just went around the tablet and just kind of peeled off any high spots. Just using a pair of tweezers here to kind of pull off any of the foam that might be pushed up. Trying to get it as flat as possible, just so there's the barely little bit of residue that's left. So if we take our old piece of glass and we look at it, you can see down here and down the sides, it's actually put on this double-sided adhesive. It's kind of like a foamy, but at the bottom here, it's got some different spots. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our two screens and put them next to each other when we go to start taping them. Alright, so here we have our old piece of glass, we have our new piece of glass. What we're going to do is use a 3M double-sided adhesive, a pair of scissors, to go ahead and cut our tape to fit onto this display. We're just using the old piece of glass as our reference piece to see where the tape needs to be put down on the new piece of glass. We'll have to remove the backing off of it before we put this adhesive down. Alright, now looking at the old glue or tape residue here, you can see that it looks like it just goes right around the edge of the old screen. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run the tape as close to the screen as possible. We're not going to let it overlap onto the clear glass portion. Just use our finger and kind of press it down in place. You want to be very careful not to get any fingerprints on the back side of the glass. So whatever you do, Just don't even touch it. Just move your fingers along the tape itself. And the tape will actually get a little bit more adhered once we put the LCD on, so if you have a little bit of a hide spot, don't stress about it too much. Now we're going to do this for the remaining 3 sides. With the bottom side where the tape's got those little bit different spots, we'll do that here in a second. I'll show you how I did that. So we'll go ahead and start across the top here. Now we don't want the tape to overlap, so we're going to cut it possibly even just a little bit short. We'll try to get it as close to possible to the other tape that we just put down. We'll do the other length side here. Alright, just running it the exact same way we did on the other one. Now for this tape, you can buy this tape off of eBay or Amazon. It's just 3M double-sided adhesive. I have the black color. It works pretty good. If you're going to use a clear, I suggest VHB tape, a little bit higher temperature tape. And I believe this is a 3mm width tape that I'm using. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and start across the bottom. This one's going to be a little bit trickier. What you can do across the bottom is use a thinner tape. It actually is a little bit thinner than the sides. You could use a 2mm tape, or you could use a 5mm, just cut out the gaps. I'm going to find it, I think it'll be easier just to do one straight piece, and then the little thicker portions that kind of stick out, I'll just put extra tape down the side to cover those up. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a second. So it looks like I'm going to have to end up using a 1mm tape. I don't have any 2mm, but it looks like the 1mm will actually be pretty close to what we're looking to do. This is some thinner tape. Let's go ahead and put this across the bottom here as well. Just being careful not to touch the back side. Go ahead and cut it so it doesn't overlap as well. Now we're going to go ahead and take our thicker tape again and just cut it to mimic the screen on the left. And the best way to kind of figure that out is we're just going to put one on top of the other. Just like this. So we have the new one on top of the old one. We've lined just the sides up. And so this way we can see exactly kind of the length of tape we need and what position we need it to be in to line up on the screen. Now I'm not 100% sure why it's got these cutouts on the LCD, but I imagine they probably did it for a reason, so I'm going to mimic the same thing when putting this down. So just taking that thicker 3mm tape and lying it just right below the 1mm and trying to cut it to the exact same length as the one below. We'll do this for all of the little cutout portions on the below screen. Just this last corner here. Alright, now our next step is to go ahead and peel off all the backing off of the tape. Let's go ahead and get rid of this old screen here real fast. We also just want to grab a sharp instrument. We'll just use our little razor blade we're using to cut the screen off with. This is an easy way to peel this backing off this tape. It is pretty sticky stuff, so if you need to push down on one side and then pull the backing off, make sure you do that. You don't want the tape to kind of pull up and flop over. You want it to be nice, straight line. That way you don't get any ripples or any weirdness under the glass once you put the LCD down. You can see that the tape wanted to come up with this one, so I pushed down on the front of it. That way I could pull the backing off without the tape coming up with it. Same thing with this one just right here. One last piece. Here we go. We have that removed, so all the tape is nice and free. So now we need to go ahead and attach our screen to this piece of glass. And I find it probably easiest to line it up on the back side. Now you want to make sure that you put the right side on to this screen. So it's kind of hard to mess up. You want the weird tape side to line up with the weird tape side. We put the gaps between the pieces of tape. I'm just going to use a little blower here to blow any dust off, because once we seal this in, we'll be stuck with any fingerprints that we have. So I'm using a dry microfiber cloth to clean up any fingerprints I might have put on it. So now we're just going to go ahead and line this up as best we can underneath the piece of glass here. Trying to see which way is going to give me the best angle to look at it. So you want it as straight as possible, because there's minimal clearance within inside the frame that it needs to fit within, so try to keep it as close as possible. You do have a little bit of play. It doesn't have to be exact, but you want it to be pretty close. Alright, just press down on the sides and make sure it's adhered. And there you have it. There's your glass replacement on the Acer tablet. If you haven't found the video helpful, hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel for future videos. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, throw them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer those. And I hope to catch you on the next one.